Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Welcome back, Kabuto offered sarcastically. He ignored Sasuke's venomous gaze. Lord Orochimaru has been waiting for you. Sasuke's expression changed from murderous to condescending. He did not answer, but did change his course, diverting into the Sananzorn's hall. Inside, he found his teacher, poring over an ancient scroll. Orochimaru did not acknowledge Sasuke's entrance, did not look up from his reading. Uchiha stared at the necromantic shinobi with mildly concealed distaste. Ah, Sasuke, the leader of the Sound finally turned his gaze to his apprentice. The rogue Genin's ire rose. He knew Orochimaru had been aware the moment he had entered the room. I see you have finally made it back from your little tournament. The villain's voice was a soft hiss. It has been almost 3 weeks. The yellow, Ted eyes locked on orbs that held the Sharingan. I was afraid something might have happened to you. His platitude was entirely without sincerity. But his next query did carry a mild curiosity. Did you find what you were looking for ? Or at least win ? It was a trap, set by a blood drinker demon, Sasuke offered without emotion. Of course, the creature was after your Kekkei Genkai, Orochimaru mused. Obviously, it was not up to your level. No, Sasuke turned the suggestion back with dark humor. I was captured, and enslaved. Orochimaru tilted his head, betraying a slight increase in interest. Naruto broke the demon's hold on me, and defeated the vampire. Admitting this would normally have been difficult for Sasuke, but this time, he reveled in the Sanan's reaction. Though most people would have missed it, the Uchiha sign caught the angry narrowing of Orochimaru's eyes, and twitch over his right temple indicating the snake's fear of the fox. So the idiot did come for you, as expected. But once again he was unable to capture you. He was distracted. Sasuke meticulously laid out Naruto's fight with the demon. The description of Naruto's new techniques had a strange impact on the legendary rogue, inspiring both hunger and worry. The Genin story ended when Orochimaru suddenly coughed fiercely, wetting the parchment before him with drops of blood. Sasuke's mood darkened, his amusement at baiting his teacher gone. It is interesting, he told the body thief, I don't remember most of what happened to me while under the creature's control. Nothing I heard, or felt, or smelled. But these eyes, they retain what my brain did not. I can still see anything I saw back then, when my Sharingan was active. I know what Naruto said to me, because I can read his lips. Enough about the Jinchuriki, Orochimaru interrupted, we have other matters to discuss. He said one thing worth noting, while preying on my emotions, Uchiha continued without pausing, he told me that you had failed to defeat Itachi. Orochimaru had been growing angry at being ignored, but Sasuke's announcements froze him. And ? The Sanin feigned indifference, you didn't already know that ? I suspected, but, the teen lost his temper, everything I have done over the last 2.5 years was based on the unction you could provide me with the power I need to off my brother. I betray my village and my teammates. I have stolen for you, and offed for you. And in return, I have given you the strength you were willing to do anything to gain. Orochimaru's answer was harsh and mocking. I was even willing to let you take possession of my body to gain my vengeance. But you could not even defeat Itachi. And of course, your tutelage would be designed to keep me weaker than you. Orochimaru watched impavly, waiting to see what Sasuke was building up to. No more. You are not fit to claim the power of the Sharingan. We are done. I am leaving. I will find someone who can give me what I need. Ha! Orochimaru started laughing. Ha 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 ha. What incredible timing. I might have missed you last time. Had you not come back, left a little earlier, I would have been forced to take a surrogate again. But this time I will own you. Be you. I thought you looked frail. Sasuke took a step back. I thought you were going to be trapped in that body for another 6 months. Herring to his feet, the villain shrugged, maybe this form was too weak to begin with. Or perhaps I burned too much of its life force, regaining the use of my arms. He dropped his shoulders, and his arms extended to almost twice their original length. Either way, I still have more than enough left for the weaker sibling. Sasuke looked back at the entrance, weighing his options. He saw Kabuto's smirking visage as the reinforced doors slammed shut. As Orochimaru's arms reached the ground, the skin and even some of the muscle sloughed off. Underneath were scales, so pale they were almost translucent. The shedding stopped, and instead of arms, the Sannin had two large vipers extending from his shoulders. Their transformation complete, the serpents lifted their heads, staring at the teenager hungrily. Sasuke threw a trio of shuriken with each hand. Orochimaru's reptilian arms knocked the blades away without even taking a scratch. The jutsu hunter's robe shredded, chunks of flesh pouring off his torso. As the Sannin's host peeled away, the form of a coiled snake was revealed. Fortunately, the ninja creature's breeches remained intact, but the skin on his feet also shedded, showing clawed, scaled toes. Me, Hitsuji, Saru, I, Uma, Tora, Sasuke shouted, spitting a sphere of flames at his former master. As Orochimaru's body and neck started to unwind, his serpentine hands gestured and spoke. Me, Tastu, Tori, Inu, Eni, the twin snakes invoked, ninja arts, mud surge jutsu. The ground erupted between them, a cresting wave of muck enveloping the Uchiha's fire art. The rebel teen was forced to abandon his attack to avoid being dashed against the wall. Wind release, vacuum blade, he drew his chokuto and cut upwards through the mire in a single stroke. Behind the wall, he saw Orochimaru's molting was complete. His legs remained covered, and mostly unchanged. But from the waist up, he was a 20-foot-long constrictor. 5 feet below his head, the two 10-foot vipers jutted out as his arms. The Sannin's face was mostly unchanged, except his canine teeth had lengthened into hypodermic fangs. This is what you have chosen to become ? Sasuke sneered, allowing his obvious disgust to show. This, foolish boy, is my soul shell, Orochimaru hissed in triplicate. It is the natural form my spirit takes when it manifests outside a body. It is much more powerful than a physical body. Then why steal boss ? Because, this time, only his head spoke, his arms were beginning to craft a new jutsu. For all its power, the soul shell begins to fade without a material form to anchor it. Also, without a chakra network, I cannot recover my energy. Necromantic arts, flesh bomb jutsu, the villain's hands whispered. The serpents scooped up chunks of the discarded skin and muscle in their mouths and tossed the tissue, not at Sasuke but near him. As expected from the jutsu, the missiles exploded. However, rather than force or flames, the eruptions filled the air around Sasuke with vile fumes. Coughing, Uchiha dove out of the cloud. You were correct, of course. The main head grinned in dark amusement as the left arm deflected the younger ninja's sword. I could have given you so much more power. It was actually amusing trying to balance it. Making you strong enough to be a worthy host, teaching you enough that you would not leave, and yet keeping you weak enough that you could not oppose me. Stony spikes erupted from the floor around the boy, still struggling to clear his throat. He dodged most with ease, but was forced to shatter one with his blade. Sasuke countered with another fire jutsu, this time sending out 4 random trails of flame, which converged on the villain. But Orochimaru gestured contemptuously, and the inferno turned back on the self-proclaimed avenger. Uchiha leapt over the flames, towards his former master, swinging his sword horizontally. The right arm reptile intercepted the slice, but no blood exited the wound. Instead of muscle, there were more layers of scales. As the weapon was withdrawn, the cut closed completely. You cannot hurt me like that, Orochimaru taunted, as Sasuke disengaged. I don't have blood to spill, or bones to break. Sasuke's eyes narrowed, then expanded again, turning red. The snake creature radiated mild interest. Will the Sharingan work on me ? Can you hypnotize all 6 of my eyes ? Can you copy my hand signs when I have no fingers ? Me, Tastu, Tori, Inu, Eni, Sasuke repeated. The copied jutsu created a larger wave than the original had, and Orochimaru watched the approaching mire with moderate approval. But when the wall reached him, he simply raised his right hand, and punched a 10-foot hole through the attack. The wall ped him, but Sasuke was nowhere to be seen. He did not stay hidden for long. Uchiha propelled himself off the ceiling, using gravity to increase his speed and power. The teen aimed his chokuto at the serpent's main head, swinging with both hands. The right hand opened its mouth, and the Kusanagi appeared. Tracing a glowing path, the legendary blade sliced upwards, and Sasuke's weapon was cleft in two, long ways. The next instant, his left hand closed over the base of the damaged sword, breaking off the blade. The Sharingan user discarded his broken tool with a grunt of disgust. He landed lightly before his master, and quickly began to retreat. Before he could get out of range, the fangs of the left-hand serpent clipped the boy's right arm. Smoke rose from the wound, and Sasuke gripped his arm in pain. Despite the pain, as soon as he was out of range, Sasuke launched into another set of chakra seals. Raiten, he proclaimed at the end, lightning cannon jutsu. An 8-inch sphere of electricity congealed in Sasuke's hand, and then shot at the soul shell of the Sannin. Orochimaru displayed definite surprise, and was unable to fully dodge the ball. Instead, it burned a substantial chunk out of his right leg. Even though the wound quickly vanished, the Tedais regarded the teen with newfound respect. I did not teach you that jutsu. I wonder where you learned it ? The Avenger did not respond, and watched the immortal warily, planning his next move. His lungs still burned, and his arm was starting to go numb from the poison. Before the younger traitor could act, the body thief took a step forward. Then, before his apprentice could react, almost faster than the Sharingan could follow, he moved behind Sasuke, and slashed twice. The long blade cut the tendons in the back of Uchiha's knees and ankles. I had hoped you would be better than this, the hissing was truly disappointed, I will have a much greater distance to make up. After swallowing the Kusanagi once more, Orochimaru's right arm joined his left in constricting the genin. The monster's jaw distended, and the arm vipers lifted the teen, so that Orochimaru could swallow Sasuke feet first. The last Uchiha kicked feebly as his injured legs were enveloped. Kabuto's face lit with vicious joy as he watched his arrogant junior consumed. As the Sannin prepared to make the final gulp, his lieutenant started to turn away from the monitors. But something caught his eye, and he spun back. He punched buttons rapidly, and the image feed paused, and then started to crawl backwards. And there it was. Just before the boy's face disappeared behind the fangs, Sasuke grinned, triumphantly. Sasuke Uchiha found himself inside of a featureless white cube. He stepped towards the wall, and the sound of his boots was unlike wood, stone, or metal. He tapped the side of his prison. Nothing happened, so he placed his hand on the barricade. As with the sound, the feel was unlike anything he was familiar with. He pushed outwards, but there was no give, and he felt a slight tingling in his palm. What is this ? Sasuke shouted at the ceiling. I suppose you could say it is my spiritual stomach. Orochimaru's face, his normal human face, formed in the top of the cube. In the past I have usually just destroyed previous inhabitants' soul, to make things easier. But the Sharingan is as much a part of your spirit as it is your blood, so I will break you down slowly in here. As your memories and personality are stripped away, I will absorb your soul bit by bit. That way, I will gain the full power of these cursed eyes. I also believe this will help your body to last longer, until I find the last secret I need to maintain this form forever. Sasuke started laughing. The expression of Orochimaru frowned. What is so funny? The villain demanded, tritely and contritely. Tears were running down Sasuke's cheeks, and he brought his hand to his face to wipe them away. Well ? The jailer sounded annoyed. It's just that you are right, Sasuke answered, the Sharingan is part of my soul. The last Uchiha looked up, and a three-bladed, black pinwheel spun in each of his glowing red eyes. No, you aren't supposed to. The snake's protest was cut off by his near scream of pain. The face on the ceiling shrunk, and was pulled into the room. Heartbeats later, shoulders emerged. Finally, Orochimaru's human form crashed to the floor of the prison. What have you done ? The Mangekyo Sharingan manipulates space, time, and thought, Sasuke taunted as he started to fade away. A soul prison, that is nothing more than space and thought. Orochimaru charged the teen, but ped right through him. Sasuke smirked even more broadly as he vanished. The Sannin cast a fire jutsu, but the cage did not change. Grunting, the would-be immortal bit his thumb, and began writing on the floor of the cube in his blood. Well, isn't that interesting? Kabuto told himself. On the screen, he watched as Orochimaru's soul shell faded away instantly, leaving only Sasuke behind. In the past, The transfer had been slow, taking almost half a day as the snake digested its food. On the screen, Sasuke looked directly at the camera. Your master is done. He won't be able to save you, next time we meet. The rogue medical nin froze. Sasuke had defeated Orochimaru. He had wanted Orochimaru to try to steal his body the entire time. Sasuke looked down at his legs, at the slashes that were closing over with inhuman speed. He smiled at this new power. The rogue stood, and walked to the door. He activated the Chidori, and blasted a hole through the stone barrier, and the wooden bar behind. He pushed the doors open with ease, and stalked further into the hideout. Unseen, Kabuto slipped into the study behind Uchiha. He slid quietly across the room, to the remains of Orochimaru's body. He gathered the chunks of flesh and shards of bone, then quickly exited the hidden page. Who the hell? The red-haired Kunoichi started to shout as the door to her room burst open. But when she saw who it was, her angry expression turned to one of rapture. The girl was almost Sasuke's height, and so slender as to be almost boyish. Her light red hair was short and wild on the right side, and longer and carefully combed on the left. She wore only a spandex tank top and shorts. Her eyes, the same color as her hair, glowed with anticipation and delight. Sasuke-sama, she purred, lunging towards him with her arms extended. He subtly sidestepped her embrace, as he entered her room. Karen, it is time, he told her, standing in the center of her small space. Are you still with me? The young woman was surprised and scared by the statement, but she quickly disguised it with a lecherous grin. Run away with you? Of course, Sasuke-sama. This time, she latched onto his arm, pulling it tightly to her chest. Good, he disentangled himself from, but in the process managed to brush his fingers lingeringly against her right. The contact made her shiver and blush. I'm going to get our third teammate, he informed her. Get ready to leave. Do you have to? She was genuinely disappointed. Won't it be enough, just the two of us? Are you willing to fight Kisame Hoshigaki alone? She froze and looked angry. Do you think I can't? She countered. No, he lied smoothly, I just don't want to put you at risk. Not when there is another we can use. She seemed to accept this, and allowed him to leave. Unlike at Karen's, Uchiha knocked on this door. After a few moments, an annoyed-looking teen answered the summons. You again? He waved his hand, and went back to his bed. He picked up the paired spiked swords, and began to clean them in an intimidating fashion. Sasuke was not impressed. Sugetsu Hazuki grinned mirthlessly, displaying teeth filed to a point. He was shorter than Karen, and had a wiry build. What do you want, Uchiha? Orochimaru is dead. I am leaving. Sasuke frowned at the disrespect, but held his temper. Will you honor our agreement? Oh? Sugetsu pretended not to remember. What agreement? I will take you to where we buried Zabuza and the Kubikiri Hoko. And then you will fight Kisame for me when the time comes. Right, the mist rogue nodded. Then he focused on Uchiha with deadly seriousness. You know I want her off you, the swordsman said. Why will trust me to watch your back? Enlightened self-interest, the dojutsu user answered. You already have Raiga's swords. If you want Zabuza's blade, you will need me to show you where it is. And if you want Kisame's sword, you need someone to fight Itachi. Just as the reason I am willing to work with you because I need someone I know will fight Kisame all out. Then Sasuke smiled mockingly. Besides, if you try to betray me, you know what Karen will do to you. The shark-toothed grin returned. All right. I'll work with you, until I have Kisame's Samehada. 5 minutes later, Sasuke, and his two new teammates, quietly left the sound. Karen had added a shirt and thigh-high boots, and both she and Sugetsu carried backpacks. The swordsman also had lightning swords strapped to his back. Hey, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto shouted as he ran up to the gate. Are you coming with me? Good morning, Naruto, the silver-haired Jonin greeted his student. No, I've got teaching duties today. Lady Tsunade is busy, so she asked me to relay the mission to your team. Team? Naruto asked. Then he looked past the copy ninja, and waved. Hey old man. Long time no see, Naruto greeted the familiar merchant. The trader set down the cart, and shook Naruto's hand. Well, I kept asking for ya, the client explained, but first you were always busy, and then you were on some training mission. I guess that means you probably haven't gotten rusty. Nope. Naruto grinned confidently, I'm stronger than ever. Great. You're ready to go, kid? Actually, we are still waiting for the 2 other team members, the Jonin interrupted. 2 more? The merchant was surprised. Well, there's been a lot bandit activity in the area, Kakashi offered, and given both the importance and value of the cargo, the Hokage decided better safe than sorry. Naruto, Sakura, and Hinata? Kakashi asked, looking at the folio. Naruto used to handle transport missions like this solo. That was before the Akatsuki were actively seeking him. But I can't send a Jonin on this mission without arousing suspicion. Sakura and Hinata are both briefed on the danger of the Akatsuki. After Hinata had come to her to discuss the 9-tailed fox demon, the Hokage had told the girl about the rogues pursuing the spirit. So is Sai, and he would be better protection, Kakashi countered. Maybe, but he wouldn't defend Naruto as fiercely. Besides, there is another reason, the leader of the Hidden Leaf told him, there has been a tension between Hinata and Sakura lately. And you're hoping by putting them together, they will work it out. Tsunade nodded. Sakura? Naruto was surprised when his teammate walked up. What are you doing here? I'm on this mission with you, she told his, despairing obviously at his denseness. And so is she. Sakura hiked her thumb over her shoulder, her annoyance growing. Behind her Hinata was jogging to catch up. Naruto waved to the kunoichi, who smiled broadly. Good morning, Hinata, he greeted her. You're on this mission too? Yes, she nodded. Lady Tsunade asked me to help guard this shipment. So, what is it this time? Old man? Naruto asked. Oil? Art? Medicine, he answered. A village in the south of the Land of Fire had its water supply contaminated. So we are bringing them relief supplies. Shizune is already at the village, Kakashi told them, and she was able to clean up the river. But she needs this medicine to treat those already infected. Then what are we waiting for? Naruto jumped into place behind the pull bar of the cart. Hinata took up position by the left wheel, and Sakura by the right. The merchant walked by the front of the cart, next to Naruto. After a few hours of walking in silence, the merchant moved closer to Naruto, and whispered, so which one of them is your girlfriend? What? Naruto was surprised by the question. I saw how they look at you, and you looked at them. Is one of them your girl? Not really, Naruto answered. Sakura's a friend and teammate. And Hinata and me, well, let's just say that's complicated. Hey, their client chuckled. I remember complicated. Well, things are starting to get clearer, Naruto confided. What? Sakura hissed at Hinata. The white-eyed girl had been glancing over her green-eyed counterpart all morning. Finally sick of it, the medical nin stepped behind the cart. You are still angry, Hinata said quietly. Well, you've been staring at me since we left, so yeah, I am starting to get annoyed. You know what I mean, Hinata raised her voice slightly, you are upset about what I said outside the hospital. Sakura sighed, she did not want this. Okay, fine, I'm still upset, she whispered, to be sure Naruto couldn't hear her over the creaking of the wagon. You ambushed me, challenged me, and said I like Naruto. Is caring for Naruto such a bad thing? Hinata looked angry, and her voice rose again. No, of course not, Sakura said, and I do care about the knucklehead. Just not the same way you do. Hinata stared at her, searching Sakura's face and posture. The pink-haired kunoichi tried to maintain a strong front, but found herself fidgeting under the appraisal. Naruto, Sakura shouted, breaking away, switch out, I'll pull the cart for a while. Hinata smiled a small, sad, yet satisfied smile as the other woman stalked to the front of the cart. As the sun began to pea the horizon, the quartet stopped for supper. The merchant estimated they were slightly ahead of schedule, and would make it to the village mid-afternoon the next day. Given the importance of the cargo, the 3 teens all suggested they could press on into the night, but their client begged off. So, they made camp. Hinata drew the first watch, and just as Naruto was drifting off to sleep, she slid over and touched his shoulder. There is something hiding, she told him, her Byakugan active, outside the light of the fire, just outside my 100-meter limit. He nodded, loosening his bedroll even as Hinata moved to rouse Sakura. The blonde teen crept over to the merchant, and gently shook him away. Hey, old man, it looks like we might have company soon. Naruto, Sakura whispered, stay with the cart and the client. Hinata and I are going to greet our guests. He nodded, preparing a kunai in his right hand, and 3 shuriken in his left. After a few seconds, the sounds of battle erupted in the forest. Jiraiya's student tensed in anticipation, but he did not have to wait for long. 2 roughly dressed bandits burst out of the woods. When they saw Naruto, they charged him, raising their batted clubs. The boy threw the throwing stars, downing the first bandit, then stopped the second cold with a punch to the stomach, followed by a spin kick to the head. A third figure emerged from the forest, slowly. Though the shape revealed she was female, but she remained hidden in the darkness. He could feel her eyes, scanning him. Finally, her eyes settled on his headband. Shinobi, she said, placing her hands together, her left palm against the back of her right hand, forming a sort of X. As she said this, a spear of lightning shot out from her palm. Naruto instinctively channeled his chakra into his forearms, and crossed them in front of his chest. He shook the jolt, but managed to deflect most of the energy. The woman paused to consider this, and then stalked forward. What the? Naruto exclaimed as she stepped into the light of the campfire. The woman was bound head to toe, like a mummy. But instead of linen, her wrappings were made up of dozens of ninja headbands. Naruto saw leaf, sand, star, mist, rain, sound, and other familiar insignia, plus some he did not know. Who are you? Naruto growled. She seemed surprised by the question. I am the Reaper of Ninja, demon spawn. She did not offer anything more, but leapt towards him. She aimed a punch at his head, and Naruto was awed by her speed and power. But more, he was put off balance by how she had addressed him. Did she know who he was? What do you mean, demon spawn? He demanded in the midst of their taijutsu exchange. You are a ninja, a user of jutsu. Chakra is the energy of evil, the power of demons. You are like them. And that is why I will off you all. Wait, you used a jutsu. Naruto protested, blocking a kick, and having his own strike deflect by her armor. I have surrendered my soul, to gain the power to destroy all shinobi. When I have cleansed the earth of your kind, I will gladly slay myself to finally eliminate this power from the world. Chilled to the bone by her arctic vehemence, the teen realized there would be reasoning with this foe. He aimed a kick for her left knee, while he jabbed her right shoulder with his dagger. She shifted her leg to dodge, and the blade skidded off the metal of a hidden GR shield covering her joint. Her fist grazed him, and Naruto was again impressed by the damage she did with a glancing blow. He felt one of his ribs crack from the incidental contact. Doton, Stone Claw's jutsu. Naruto exclaimed, jumping back. 3 rocky hands attempted to grasp the offer, but to no avail. Earth drown, she counted. Water condensed around the limbs, and the dirt and sand cementing the stones washed away, causing the jutsu to collapse. She didn't use any hand signs? Naruto thought to himself, worried. He stabbed again, this time managing to find a gap in her armor, and draw blood. He continued, aiming a kick at her chest. The Reaper jumped back, studying him again. She placed her hands together as if praying, then made a forward-cutting motion with her right hand. Tornado lock. As she quietly announced her maneuver, a wall of swirling wind spun up around the ninja. Naruto struggled to breathe as the air was sucked out of the vortex. Then his attacker put her fingers to her lips in a familiar gesture. Fireball, she exhaled, sending a sphere of fire into the cyclone holding Naruto. But when she finished, what collapsed to the ground was a charred log. Naruto appeared behind her, driving his left elbow into the back of her skull. The mystery woman pitched forward, and Naruto was left rubbing his arm from the impact with the steel covering her head. The concealed offer corrected her fall, rolling in the air and landing facing the Leaf Warrior. Jiraiya's student had shifted his kunai to his left hand and formed a Rasengan over his right palm. He did not pause, but ran straight for her. She put her wrists together in front of her chest, palms out, fingers splayed. She pushed her hand out, and Naruto felt a force move past him. The Rasengan melted and the teen was engulfed by a sudden exhaustion. What was that question mark? He stopped moving, booming a defensive position. I can channel my darkness to counter yours, she panted slightly. Her direct stare continued to unnerve him. Then, she started to perform a set of hand signs, for a jutsu Naruto recognized. Weapon summon jutsu, she intoned. The Reaper held out her hand, and a 7-foot glaive appeared. The entire weapon was made of a dull blue metal, though it was slightly reflective where the 2-foot-long blade was sharpened. She caught the polearm, and immediately rotated it, sending the edge in an arc towards Naruto's throat. He raised his kunai to block, but the throwing knife only offered a second of resistance before being carved through. The time bought Naruto enough time to dodge, but the loss of his weapon put him at a disadvantage. He tried repeatedly to draw kunai from his pouch, but she cut him off at each attempt. She was faster, stronger, and had the reach advantage. Only Naruto's luck and the shadows cast by the fire kept him from receiving a serious injury. Knowing he could not dodge forever, Naruto turned part of his attention inside. He tried to pull out the fox's power. Come on, lend me your power, you stupid vixen. The human shouted at the demon. You seem to be misunderstanding something. The fox was not amused. I am not your ally, and I am not here to help you. And if she offs me, you too, the teen shot back. You are not even close to that point, the demon growled, and maybe I am tired of this existence. Maybe I don't mind if we. Disgusted and surprised, Naruto went back to focusing entirely on the external world. A stab scratched his left earlobe, far too close to a beheading for his taste. Inferno, the Reaper twirled her glaive, sending a cone of fire at the shinobi. He dove to the side, taking advantage of her jutsu to implement his newest desperate idea. He ran his fingers over one of his many minor injuries, spreading blood over the digits. He flashed the seals, and tagged the ground, shouting, summoning jutsu. A cloud of smoke erupted, and Gamakichi materialized. Hey, Naru, the toad started to greet the human, but Uzumaki bowled into him, pushing the larger amphibian out of the path of the Reaper's moving bonfire. What the heck is going on? Kichi yelled, after spitting a stream of water to counter the flames. She says she's the Ninja Reaper, and she's trying to off me. Summoning a monster will not save you, Shinobi, the woman noted, jumping forward with her blade extended. Hey, who you calling a monster, wench? The toad was angry. His tongue lashed out, striking her shoulder. She turned her weapon back, and Kichi had to rapidly suck his tongue back to avoid having it severed. Naruto used the chance to use the Cyclone Spike's jutsu, but her polearm blocked the attack without taking a scratch. Naruto and Gamakichi attacked in unison. The human ninja aimed a series of quick jabs, designed to corral the woman, without giving her a chance to destroy his weapons. He pushed her into the toad ninja's path, and the summoned animal expectorated a stream of concentrated water at the slayer. Deflection, the Reaper moved her glaive into the path of the spray, redirecting it towards Naruto. The teen was thrown back, and the woman followed up with, freeze. The M of water surrounding Naruto instantly turned solid, trapping his legs and right arm. He dropped the kunai, and gritting his teeth, started to form a Rasengan. The offer turned her attention to Gamakichi. She leapt at the toad, jabbing rapidly with her long weapon. The amphibian danced to avoid the pole, without relishing he was the one being driven this time. Kichi bumped into a tree, and the armored girl incanted, Maya. The dirt around the tree turned into thin mud, and when the ninja toad landed, he started to sink in. He splayed out to slow his descent, but without a firm purchase he could no longer avoid. Beast, she said, swinging her glaive horizontally. Gamakichi, Naruto shouted. He dismissed the partial Rasengan, and grabbed his right hand with his left. Dismiss. He released the summoning, and Kichi disappeared. But Naruto could not tell if he had been soon enough. The Reaper of Ninja strode over to him. Against the paralyzing chill, he tried to form the spiraling sphere. But before he could complete the fourth jutsu, she was standing over him. It is over, ninja, she said as she walked over to him. Give me your name, that I may remember it. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, he grunted through the cold. And there's no way I'm going to hear. I'm going to be the next Hokage. She shook her head, raising her glaive. But before she could swing, the merchant bowled in her. Leave that kid alone, he yelled at her. She backhanded him away. Don't worry, I will free you from the yoke of this ninja. She drew back her glaive again. No, not yet. Naruto thought, then he saw where she was aiming, and told himself, just one chance. He focused his chakra, but was too slow, or unsuccessful. Nothing seemed to happen as her blade stabbed into his heart. The ninja cried out in pain, blood pouring from the wound. He coughed weakly, then lay still. Naruto, the returning Hinata screamed. The Reaper looked surprised as Hinata and Sakura both started running towards her. I don't have enough left for 2 more, she told her victim, but you were enough, for today. She ripped the headband off his forehead, and fled into the forest. Hinata, help me get this ice off him, Sakura shouted, kneeling next to Naruto. The other kunoichi nodded. She formed her own Rasengan, and began to scour the frozen water around Naruto's right leg and arm. Haruno instead shattered the ice with enhanced strength. Working together, they quickly released him. Take off his jacket, the medical expert instructed. She noticed something odd about the way his coat was resting, as she struggled with the Shinpa. When they removed the jacket, they recognized the remains of a familiar box, resting over his heart. Hinata gently removed the splintered wood, blood-soaked orange velvet, and the shards of the 2 destroyed kunai. She placed the wreckage on his coat. The cut isn't that deep, Sakura mused out loud, but it did nick his heart and partial cut through his 3rd rib. The slice in his heart is already starting to heal because of his regeneration, but it might not be enough. He's lost a lot of blood, from all these cuts. She reached into her pouch without looking away. She handed Hinata 2 small pills. Make him swallow these. The medical nin placed her left hand over the chest wound, and her right over the slash that trailed down most of his right bicep. Sakura channeled her chakra, starting to repair the damage. Hinata placed the plasma pills in Naruto's mouth, and gently rubbed his throat to make him swallow. After he took in the medicine, and knowing there was nothing else she could do, the quiet girl moved over to their client, who was sitting up with a groan. Are you alright? She asked. He grimaced, feeling the lump forming behind his left ear. I've had worse. How's Naruto? Sakura is working on him. Hinata carefully maintained her composure. He is tough, and Sakura is a soft healer. As if he heard her, Naruto suddenly sat up. Sakura almost fell back from his sudden movement. Despite the interruption of his teammate's jutsu, the wound on Naruto's chest continued to close. What happened? Naruto asked groggily. You tell us, Sakura snapped, going back to work on his other injuries. You're the one who almost got offed. She said she was the Reaper of Ninja, and that she was gonna off all shinobi. Naruto responded as his head cleared. Then he recognized something, and put his hand to his uncovered forehead. She took my headband. She's gonna make it part of her armor. Her armor? Hinata's question echoed Sakura's confusion. Yeah, she had armor made out of a bunch of headbands. Each one had 1, 2, or 3 X's carved into it. Now she's gonna add mine. I gotta get it back. Naruto jumped to his feet, but he was standing. He started to weave slightly. Sakura pulled him back down, and none too gently. Oh no, you don't. You just got stabbed in the heart. You're not in any shape to go chasing after her. Sakura finished treating him, and went to see to the merchant. My heart. Yeah, I summoned my special kunai to block that. Where are they? I'm sorry, Naruto. Hinata carried over his jacket, with the remains of her and Sakura's gifts. If it's any consolation, they probably saved you. She set it in front of him. As Naruto looked at the broken weapons, his face blackened with anger and sadness. I think we should get back on the road, Hinata suggested. Try to reach the village as soon as we can. There's no need, Sakura shook her head. They won't come back tonight. Besides, Naruto needs to rest. I'm still too old to be walking all night, the merchant added his support. Hinata nodded, but did not look convinced. As his 3 companions prepared to rest, Naruto suddenly burst into motion. He picked out the wood and velvet resting in his coat, tossing it aside until only the steel, and red and blue silk remained. Then he removed his weapons pack and dumped all of the kunai and shuriken onto his jacket. Hinata stood again, moving closer in curiosity and worry. Sakura also watched him carefully. Next he took out Gama. He rummaged around the aging, frog-shaped coin purse, and threw all the copper 1 and 5 Ryo coins he found onto the stack. Then, after a moment's indecision, he added a trio of silver 10 Ryo coins. He shifted the pile of metal with a grimace. Not enough, he said quietly. He stood, and began to look around their campsite. Hinata had no clue as to what he was doing, but nevertheless walked over to him. She took out one of her kunai, and placed it on the pile. Then she opened her own wallet and contributed a handful of copper coins. Will that be enough? She asked. Almost, he said. I'll need a little more steel. Sakura walked over, and dropped another kunai onto the weapons and money. Thank you both, Naruto said. He looked down at the mess, and nodded to himself. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruto said quietly, producing 4 copies. The original did not move, but the clones did, forming a pentagon around the jacket. As one, the 5 Naruto sat cross-legged. Alright, Fox, Naruto turned inside, I'm gonna need some of your chakra for this. Did you forget? She growled, I wouldn't give you my power during your last fight. Why would I lend it to you for this? This time you are the one who doesn't understand, the human shot back, I'm not asking, I'm making an offer. And I won't take no for an answer. Oh. The demon seemed curious, and what will you do if I refuse? I'll sing, I'll hum, and I'll whistle. The most annoying songs I can think of. Until you give me your power just to shut me up. And what are you supposed to be offering in return? He told her, and the demon laughed at him. You think something like that would interest me? She mocked. Naruto countered, I know it would. And given the alternative. The fox grinned evilly, alright, you win, this time. Mostly because I'm curious to see if you can pull it off. Naruto returned to the outside. You two might want to back off, he cautioned his friends, just in case. Just in case of what? Sakura groused, but Naruto did not answer, and both girls moved a few steps away. In unison, the 5 blonde teens began the crafter jutsu. Each Naruto performed the same set of hand signs, at the same time. Neither of the kunoiki recognized the set, but both grew amazed when after a minute, all 5 Narutos were still going. And after the 3rd minute, a red and black sphere appeared in the air between them, and the pile of metal was drawn into it. What is that? Hinata asked. She took another step back as she felt a pull on the shield around her neck. I think, Sakura paused, as if what she was about to say was impossible, I think that is the weapon forge jutsu. The one the vampire mentioned? Yeah, I asked Kakashi-sensei about it. It takes 5 shinobi, 1 for each of the 5 elements. It also takes a lot of chakra. And if the 5 ninja are not in agreement as to what they want the weapon to be, it will be ruined. But if a person had enough chakra to fill all 5 roles, that would not be an issue, Hinata considered aloud. Sakura nodded. So if the knucklehead has enough concentration to maintain the jutsu, he might be able to make a decent weapon, the pink-haired kunoiki agreed. The girls continued to watch for a time, but after 20 minutes, they realized he would not be stopping soon. Sakura left Hinata on watch, and returned to sleep. The Hyuga Saiyan activated her Byakugan, both keeping her vigil for the bandits, and trying to see through the chakra sphere hovering in the midst of Naruto's copies. But even the legendary dojutsu could not pierce the intense energy, and she remained unclear as to what her friend was crafting. After midnight, Hinata switched with Sakura. Like her rival, Haruno split her attention between watching for an ambush, and observing Naruto. Unlike Hinata, the medical expert was concerned her teammate was overexerting himself. At around 5:30, the sky began to turn pink with the coming dawn. Their leader started to wonder if the knucklehead would be done before it was time to go. But as Hinata woke, Naruto suddenly, and authoritatively shouted, Ru. Both kunoiki turned to watch as the sphere collapsed inwards. The 4 clones vanished even as the chakra poured into the weapon. Naruto lunged forward, and caught the weapon as it began to fall. Naruto, that's, Sakura sounded confused. Hinata surveyed the weapon, and was forced to agree, though she hid it. The pommel of the weapon was a stylized fox, in copper, or a copper-colored alloy. The grip was just long enough to accommodate 2 hands, thought Naruto held it easily in one. And was wrapped in familiar cords of red and blue silk. The crosspiece looked like a simple oval bar from the side, But when the boy shifted the weapon to examine it, Hinata realized it was in the shape of the Konoha leaf when viewed from the top. But strangest of all was the blade. Instead of a slender, sharpened sword, the weapon had a 2-inch diameter rod, 2.5 feet long, and rounded slightly at the tip. It's a staff blade, Hinata could not stop herself from saying. She activated her Byakugan, to see if there was something she had missed. She had to blink from the intensity and complexity of the chakra strings infused into the weapon. Naruto, Sakura was exasperated again, a staff blade isn't a real weapon, it's a training tool. He ignored her, and took a step away from the girls. He launched into an advanced weapons form. The two women were both unfamiliar with the style, but were impressed by the blend of power and speed in his attacks. Hinata could almost see the imaginary opponents, as Naruto slashed and stabbed at the air. Finally satisfied, the blonde teen stopped moving with a hard exhale. What kind of technique was that? Sakura asked, slightly humbled. The kind you can't do with a sword, because you dull or break the blade, he answered dryly, and can't do with a mace or axe because the balance is off. And if I need to cut something. Still using her Byakugan, Hinata saw Naruto send a tiny thread of chakra into his creation. Green energy erupted from the pole, tripling its width and increasing its length by 4 inches. The staff blade was now a broad-bladed sword. Wind chakra is sharper than any steel, and can be just as strong, the genin concluded. He released the power, and the sharpened extension faded away. He turned to Hinata, and held the staff blade horizontally in front of his chest. Hinata, can you do me a favor? He asked. Of course, she said quickly, then paused. What can I do for you? He grabbed the end of the rod to brace, and told her, I want you to hit Kitsune with your Rasengan. She blinked, and let her confusion show through. Kitsune is the blade's name, the boy explained, misunderstanding her hesitation. All right, she sounded unsure. As strong as you can, he prompted. Hinata placed both of her hands in front of her, fingers spread, forming a 5-inch cage. Sakura felt a twinge of jealousy as the other Kunoichi's chakra began to twist in the air between her palms. With the spiraling sphere complete, the daughter of the Hyuga looked up at Uzumaki, still worried. Are you ready? He nodded in response. Still obviously uncertain, Hinata stepped forward, and struck the staff blade with her Rasengan. Though there was a slight keening whine, the expected grinding noise was not heard. Emboldened, the reserve Chunin pushed harder, and the hyperactive genin's muscles strained to keep his weapon in place. Finally, the Rasengan slipped, and Hinata's arm ped over the Kitsune, aiming right for Naruto's head. The boy released the pole with his left hand, and pushed the girl's arm higher with the blade, even as he leaned back. The deadly orb missed Naruto's uncovered forehead by less than an inch. Are you alright? Hinata asked, quickly unraveling the jutsu. But Uzumaki was already examining the metal, which bore not even a scratch. Oh, yeah, I'm fine Hinata, thanks, he suddenly recognized her question. Sakura fumed silently, partly for the risky test, but mostly for being ignored. Oblivious, Naruto retrieved his jacket from the dust, and slid it back on. One last thing, his voice sounded worried. He bit his thumb, and spread the blood to his other fingers. Summoning jutsu. Smoke billowed outwards, and a familiar orange toad appeared. Naruto ? Gamakichi seemed surprised by his summoner, and instantly tensed, looking around for an attack. Kichi, Naruto let out his held breath, thank goodness you're okay. Yeah, looks like you managed to win without me, the amphibian continued to rotate his head, not convinced. I didn't win, Naruto's relief faded, and he pointed his thumb at his forehead, she took my leaf and left me for dead. So, what are you going to do? Gamakichi's eyes narrowed as he considered the human. I'm gonna go get it back of course. I coulda guessed, Kicha waved his hand at Naruto, well, if you need any help, summon Gamatatsu, I've had enough. The toad disappeared in a burst of smoke. Alright, a quick nap and I'm going after the Reaper. You idiot, Sakura warloped him in the back of the head, did you forget we're in the middle of a mission? A time-sensitive mission? Oh, yeah, Naruto grinned sheepishly as he straightened. Naruto, after we finish the mission, Sakura and I will both help you get back your headband, Hinata offered. Sakura sighed, but nodded her agreement. Get on the back, And hold on tight, old man, Naruto told the merchant as he ran to the front of the cart. Okay, he frowned as he complied. Once he was secure, Naruto took off like a shot. Surprised, the two kunoichi required a few seconds to catch up. As they ran down the path, Sakura noticed a sad, nostalgic look on Hinata's face. What is it? I used to envy Naruto's boundless energy, Hinata said quietly, until I learned its source, and what it has cost him. With Naruto setting the pace, instead of their aging client, they made the last leg of their journey in 4 hours instead of the expected 9. The town was a small farming community, a tavern and inn, a general store, and a few houses. As the quartet raced past the chicken pen that marked the edge of the village, more than a few heads turned to look at him, surprised and yet hopeful. Good, you guys made it, Shizune greeted him eagerly as she exited the inn, and you're early. Sakura, I'll need you to help me with the treatments. Hinata, you can run crowd control. And Naruto. Grab something to eat and take a nap, Sakura interrupted. The Jonin doctor turned her attention back to her junior, surprised. But the Chunin shot her look that said she would explain later, and Shizune let it be. Okay, then Hinata, would you help unload the supplies? Tsunede's first apprentice altered her plan slightly. Naruto, I have the room on the second floor. Feel free to use it, Shizune offered, as the healthy villagers started to swarm around the cart. The healer started to direct them, putting them to work so they wouldn't interfere. A few hours later, Shizune slid silently into the room, to check on her self-appointed younger brother. But her stealth was unnecessary, Naruto was not sleeping. He was sitting in the room's only chair, staring out the window, pensive. You are supposed to be resting, she admonished gently. Oh, hi, Shizune-san, he said, turning to look at her. As he did, she noticed his staff blade resting across his knees. I couldn't sleep, he added. You look worried, Naruto, she offered, that isn't like you. Yeah, well, he broke off, thinking again, that Reaper woman beat me pretty thoroughly last time. I'm not sure I can back my headband, even with Kitsune. Why go to the risk, then ? She asked, go back to the Konohagakure, and let the Hokage send a team of Jonin after this offer. You can get another headband. Not like that, he countered, maybe you already know this, but the fourth Hokage used to retire his headbands after major turning points in his life. After each new ninja rank, and a couple after major battles. That one he gave to the old pervert after he made Jonin. When the headband Iruka-sensei gave me fell apart, Master Jiraiya entrusted this one to me. He said the fourth would have wanted me to have it, both for mastering the Rasengan, and to make up for what he did to me. That is not the only reason Minato Namikaze would want you to wear his leaf, Shizune thought, but did not say. Instead she suggested, then tell me about the fight. Maybe I can help you think of something. Naruto nodded. He took a deep breath, and then relayed the details of the battle. Shizune listened carefully, her face slowly reflecting a growing concern. This is troubling, the experienced kunoichi offered, the fact that she was stronger and faster could be a matter of chakra expenditure. You know the technique, but do not use it very much, correct? He nodded, not sure what was troubling, other than how he was defeated. But you said she used 8 jutsu without hand signs. Wait, I thought it was 9, he interrupted. No, the negative chakra jutsu is like your Rasengan, it doesn't use hand signs to begin with, she explained, but I'll get into that later. Okay, then 7. So what? It is very difficult to use a jutsu without the proper seals, Shizune concealed her amusement. Naruto could master expert-level jutsu faster than any shinobi she had even known, but could never seem to remember the basics of the ninja arts. A shinobi uses hand signs to craft chakra into the form needed for the jutsu. But a soft ninja, who is familiar enough with a particular jutsu, can mold the chakra into the proper shape, even without the shaping gestures. It is the mark of a master. And Master Jiraiya can only use 5 jutsu above D level without hand signs, and Lady Tsunade can only use 4, she told him. If this woman is stronger and faster than you, and correctly used 8 high-rank jutsu without hand signs, then she could be stronger than any of the Sannin. But Naruto detected something in her tone. As I said, using jutsu without seals is difficult, not impossible. Your description of her fighting style sounds haphazard, if effective. As if instead of formal taijutsu training, she learned a civilian martial art, and added some ninja techniques here and there, she suggested, so instead of being a master of jutsu, maybe she just doesn't know any better. And Naruto parroted himself. And using jutsu that way takes lots of extra chakra. So if she is expending chakra to enhance her physical abilities, and wasting it with her jutsu, maybe I can run her out of chakra. Naruto suddenly brightened, then he frowned. So what about this neglected chakra thing? The negative chakra jutsu, she rolled her eyes, is just that. It turns a user's regular chakra into an unnatural anti-chakra. It can counter almost any jutsu, and as you said, make you feel weak if it hits you. It used to be common in the Kirigakure and the Iwagakure, but fell into disuse because it takes a lot of chakra, and leaves the user weakened like their target. Also, she smiled slightly as if amused by what she was about to say, it can be defeated by AD rank jutsu. AD rank jutsu ? He was surprised, which one ? It's another uncommon jutsu. It hasn't been part of the Leaf curriculum since before I started in the academy. I only know it because Lady Tsunade finds it occasionally useful during medical procedures. It is called Oshi. Oshi ? You mean it's the push jutsu ? His surprise had expanded into incredulity, the jutsu that applies 2 pounds force at a speed of 1 foot per second ? That's close enough to correct. So you know it ? Tsunade's assistant asked. No, but the pervy sage told me about it. Well, it should only take a few minutes to teach it to you. She sat down on the bed across from him. He half stood, and turned the chair to face her, before watching her intently. The seals are Ushi, Uma, she said, and then you point your index and middle fingers at what you want to move. The only trick is to keep a steady, even flow of chakra. That's why it can counter the negative chakra jutsu. Now watch, she said. Ushi, Uma, Oshi jutsu. She pointed her fingers at the right side of his chest, and Naruto felt a slight pressure. Of course, you're too heavy for this to move you, she told him, not letting up the flow, but if you need to shift a blood vessel, or push a metal fragment gently out of a wound, it works wonders. Now you try, she stopped her attack. Ushi, Uma, Oshi jutsu. Not bad, she told him, but you need to keep the pressure more consistent. Again. He kept trying, and by the 4th attempt, he had mastered the simple technique. She drilled him 3 more times, just to be sure it would stick. Then she stood up to leave. Now you really do need to get some rest, she told him, and I want you to promise you won't leave. Otherwise, I'll send Hinata up here to keep an eye on you. Why would I? But his protest faded under her knowing stare. All right, I promise, big sis. The next morning the 4 shinobi and the merchant gathered outside the inn. Naruto, finally rested, had wanted to leave the previous evening. But both Hinata and Sakura were too tired, and he had bowed to the pressure to stay behind. Are you going to come back with us, Shizune-san ? Naruto asked. No, she shook her head, I'm staying here 2 more days, to make sure no one relapses. And what about you, sir ? Hinata asked the merchant. No, I'm going to go back with Shizune, their client answered, I am going to do some trading. Besides, if you're gonna take that detour, I don't want to be there. He turned to Naruto, and said seriously, good luck, kid. The blonde teen nodded, and then the 3 youths left the town. Naruto was encouraged when they easily found the Reaper's trail. It reinforced Shizune's theory that his opponent was not a master ninja. Not long after they entered the forest, the Reaper's tracks met up with those of the fleeing bandits. The woods grew thicker, but the Konoha warriors did not slow. The deepening shadows and thinning brush could not hide the path from Hinata's brilliant white eyes. In time they encountered a cliff, but did not pause, using their chakra to cling to the steep rock face. Finally they decelerated, when Hinata caught sight of a thin plume of smoke rising from the tree line in before them. As the trio slowed, they switched naturally from speed to stealth. Soon, even without enhanced eyesight, they could see an artificially expanded clearing in the forest. The man-made break contained a handful of poor wooden huts, and many more tents. The teens saw a small number of rough-looking men, milling around one of the campfires. One thing, Naruto suddenly whispered, I need to do this myself. Sakura looked dubious, but it was Hinata who rebelled. No, she said quietly, yet firmly, shaking her head. No. Hinata, I want you to promise you won't interfere. I won't, she refused, then offered, I won't step unless it is necessary. But I will not let her off you. That is what I promise. Naruto tried to gain support from Sakura, but his teammate just smirked. Sorry, but this time I agree with Hinata, she shrugged. Naruto sighed, but inside he felt a warm glow. The QB just groaned. Before the bandits realized they were under attack, one had been often 3 more disabled. Sakura's powerful punch turned one of the thieves' ribs inwards, puncturing his heart and left lung. Naruto's kitsune shattered 2 wrists, and then knocked the man out with a blow to the back of the head. Hinata had knocked out 2 of the rogues with the combination of the gentle fist and the Ranshinsho. But as the first raiders fell, the alarm spread through the camp, and more bandits emerged from the shelters. Mistress, ninja, one of the thugs shouted, and the Reaper emerged from the nicest of the huts. She was partially unwrapped, showing her purple, left eye, and stringy, dirty blonde hair. Though her hair was unkempt, her skin was smooth and bright, and she appeared to be in her late 20s or early 30s. Her visible eye widened when she saw Naruto. Her eye narrowed, and she brought her hands to her right. She untied one of the headbands covering it, and threw it to the ground. I have not earned this yet, she said coldly. She laced her fingers, and pointed the hammer fist at Naruto. Burn! Her minions scrambled to get out of the way, as she sent 3 spears of fire towards the genin. He avoided one, and destroyed the other 2 with his new weapon. The Reaper's gaze fell on the staff blade, and her visible eye displayed curiosity. She quickly summoned her own weapon, charging toward the team. Hinata and Sakura herded the bandits, drawing them away, to give their friend room to fight. Naruto stopped her first overhead chop, catching the glaive's blade on Kitsune's pole. There was a dull scraping noise, but when they separated, neither weapon was damaged. This shocked and angered the Reaper, who launched a series of attacks directed against the staff blade instead of its wielder. But Naruto's creation weathered the barrage without so much as a mark. Now that he was fighting her on closer to equal terms, Naruto could see the flaws in her fighting style. He was able to boost his speed for a second, sliding past her defenses and scoring a solid hit on her left shoulder. Though most of the force of the blow was absorbed by the metal and cloth wrapping her, there was still enough impact to cause her to lose her grip on her pole arm. She leapt back, gaining the chance to secure her weapon. Then she pointed the axe-like blade at him, and proclaimed. Once again, a bolt of lightning shot at the boy. Again, he stopped the jutsu simply by intercepting it with his blade. Interesting toy, she offered. The team darted forward, batting the point of her weapon wide, and then aiming her left fist at her uncovered eye. As she twisted out of the way, she transferred her momentum to her glaive, and the shinobi was barely able to avoid being disemboweled. He rolled back, sheathing Kitsune between his belt and his pants. The genin thought, okay, Shizune-san, let's give it a try. Ushi, Uma, Oshi Jutsu, he said, and then pointed the fingers of his left hand at the ground. Her eye narrowed, unsure of what he was plotting. Naruto raised his right hand, and streams of chakra began to circle above it. As expected, she released her glaive, putting her hands together before her sternum, her fingers spread wide. As Naruto complete embling the 4th jutsu, she started to move her hands forward. Now, Naruto shouted to himself. He quickly brought his left hand up, focusing the flow of chakra at her palms. As predicted, the wave of negative energy broke on the simple, steady stream of force, and the Reaper's shoulders slumped while Naruto's strength and Rasengan remained intact. He continued his charge, thrusting the deadly sphere towards her midsection. The shinobi offer recovered her weapon in time to retain the advantage of reach, and she blocked the chakra orb with the tip of her spear. She repeated, discharging the lightning directly into the Rasengan. His jutsu splintered hers, but enough of the power got through to numb his arm. With a low cracking sound, the combatants flew apart. Naruto released the Rasengan and drew Kitsune again. He ran towards her again, but as he got close, she touched her glaive to the ground, and said, Maya. The dirt around him turned into a thin, grasping mud pool. Before he became stuck, he leapt forward, expelling chakra from his feet to both break free and to clear the trap. He reached her, and his first swing found her reaction slightly slowed. Still, she blocked the attack, and countered by rotating the pole to sweep Naruto's knees with the back end. He leapt to avoid the strike, and launched a snap kick at her head. Her avoidance was awkward, and he clipped the sand shield covering her right ear. Split, she announced. Naruto was swinging overhand at her head, but she divided, one of her going left, and the other going right. The split Reaper stabbed both high and low, but the ninja was already rolling out of her reach. He regained his feet with a smirk. You picked the wrong ninja to play that game with, he informed her, then put his hands together. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instantly, there were 4 of the blonde youth, and they copied the Reaper. 2 teens swung their kitsune at one the duplicated offers heads, while the others stabbed towards her stomachs. One of the women avoided both attacks, but the other took the attacks, in exchange for the chance to stab one of the copies in the chest. The shadow clone exploded, but the Reaper's version remained, though she was bleeding from the blow to her head, and gasping from having the wind knocked out of her. The 3 remaining Narutos converged on the other Reaper, determined to eliminate the duplicate while the original was reeling. 2 aimed for her head, while the third struck at her left thigh to make it harder for her to dodge the other attacks. But the Reaper dropped, allowing the attack on her leg to hit her belly to avoid the blows to the skull. This attack was not enough to destroy the clone, and she spun her glaive up, forcing all 3 of the blondes to step back. Tornado Lock, the ignored original Reaper cast. She nearly caught both Naruto and one of the clones, but the original squeaked out of the cyclone. The shadow was dispersed by the tornado, and the less injured Reaper used distraction to finally eliminate the last clone with another use of her lightning jutsu. Staggering, the 2 Reapers reunited, and as Naruto watched, recombined, almost as if shaping herself back together. In the process all her injuries vanished, except the original hit to her left shoulder. As their shoulders met, the right copy lifted her arm, and threw her poleaxe at Naruto like a spear. Not expecting this move, the teen did not dodge completely, and took a deep cut to his left side. He was almost hit again when the glaive was pulled back to merge with its mate. I have been underestimating you, she said, shaking her head to clear out the cobwebs of the now healed wound to her uncovered temple. You might be worth the 3rd marker after all. As if, Naruto shouted, there's no way I'm losing this time. I have taken your measure, boy. Naruto didn't answer, he just channeled his chakra into Kitsune, creating the wind chakra blade. The Reaper frowned, not expecting that move. How do I measure up now? ? The boy took a second to enjoy her reaction, before rushing forward. He was faster than before, channeling his chakra to increase his speed. She thought she had intercepted his attempt to impale her, but Naruto changed his strike at the last instant, cutting into her left forearm, sending a rain headband and a splash of blood to the earth. The Reaper attempted a counter-attack, but he relinquished his 2-handed grip, and caught the center point of her glaive with his left hand. She struggled to break free, but thanks to the side effect of the negative chakra, she was no longer stronger than Naruto. However, she also refused to give up her weapon. Naruto aimed his now bladed weapon for her neck, but she was able to arc her body to the right, avoiding the attack, and almost twisting her glaive out of Naruto's grip. She stomped his foot, and he finally let go. Naruto returned his left hand to Kitsune's grip, and swung the air sword diagonally. The Reaper stopped the attack, catching the sword with the staff where Naruto had just been holding. They strained, neither gaining ground. Naruto switched the direction of his force, and the wind chakra blade began to scrape along the glaive, towards her right hand. She released, and spun away, turning the dodge into an attack at Naruto's back. He caught the attack, but not before the axe head cut through the skin and muscle over his right shoulder blade. He pushed her away, and the pair ended up 10 feet apart, their weapons pointed at one another. Time for level 2, Naruto announced, attracting Hinata's attention, even as her kunai severed the tendons in the left elbow of the bandit she was battling. Naruto placed his left hand where Kitsune's blade met its hilt. He slid his hand towards the point, and as he did the extension changed. The solid green wind chakra began to twist and roil, becoming of constantly moving threads. Raisin blade, Naruto proclaimed. That was why he had me test it with my Rasengan, the Hyuga shinobi realized, as she avoided a quarterstaff to the stomach. Naruto took a step forward, and the Reaper quickly brought up her hands. Cradling her spear against her left arm and, she put her hands together to send out another stream of anti-chakra. The team did not have time to react, but it did not matter. The form of the Raisin Blade was permanently imprinted in the kitsune, making the jutsu more resilient, and so long as he kept up the stream of chakra, the swirling sword remained. And even though the Raisin Blade prevented the attack from hitting him, he got the impression it was weaker than her previous uses of the technique. Shizune was right, his confidence grew at the realization. He completed the gap, swinging kitsune horizontally. She caught up her glaive, and spun it up, catching the enhanced staff blade just under the polearm's blade. Her arms shuddered from the effort to keep him in place. Naruto let out a quick roar, and channeled more power into his arms. The blue metal groaned from Naruto's strength and the vibration of the Rasengan weapon. The Reaper brought up her right knee to apply more strength and leverage. Her eye betrayed confidence as she started to push him back. With the sound of a clear ringing bell, the Raisin Blade cleaved the glaive, sending the head of the axe-like pole flying. Her defense gone, the turbulent sword lightly bit into her, just below her collarbone, shoulder to shoulder. Bleeding profusely, she tumbled back. She extended her hands, and with a touch of desperation, intoned. But the jutsu fizzled. She stumbled back, not understanding. Naruto walked over to her slowly. He stopped just before her, aiming death at the Reaper's heaving chest. But he paused, not able to off an unarmed and helpless enemy. "Do it," she ordered, loathing his pity, "finish what your kind started." Naruto's pity became tainted with confusion, and the Reaper snarled. "You offed my fiancé, my family, my friends, and most of my village," she snapped, leaning closer to the glowing blade. "You beat me, raped me, and left me in that snowbank." Naruto lowered his staff blade, and looked away. "Naruto!" Hinata screamed, snapping him out of it. The Reaper had recovered the blade of her broken weapon, and was stabbing straight for his neck. Naruto batted her attack away, and easily slid kitsune into the offer's chest. The Reaper of Ninja exploded, and when the smoke cleared, it was one of her outlaws that had been run through. Naruto quickly spun to find her, but to his amazement, all of the 8 other people in the camp were the Reaper. 2 of them were locked in battle, one was staring at him, hatefully. The remaining 5 all turned and ran, each taking a different route into the forest. Naruto, the Reaper who was staring at him, snarled his name, and stalked closer. Naruto raised kitsune to intercept her, and she froze, raising her hands in surrender. "Naruto, it's me." Her angry tone was at odds with the rearing phase. Similarly, the look in her eyes said she wished him death, while her posture said she was worried for him. Then she slowly raised her right hand, and traces of chakra began to circle her palm. Even before the Rasengan had finished forming, Naruto had finally started to understand. "Hinata?" He asked, and she nodded. Full comprehension hit him like a fist to the gut, and he placed his hands together. "Release," he said. When nothing happened, he pushed his hands together tighter, and shouted, "Release." For an instant, the Reaper's form went hazy, but it quickly returned. "I can help," the Hinata Reaper offered, stretching out her now empty right hand. Naruto took it with his left hand, and Hinata laced her fingers with his. Of course, the technique did not require physical contact, but she saw no reason to mention that right now. "Sugun Byakugan," she incanted, "absorb." The shadow left Naruto's eyes, and flew towards Hinata's. But when the genjutsu struck her mirrored corneas, it shattered and faded away. Naruto could once again see Hinata, and that Sakura was battling the last of the bandits. Sakura finished her opponent with a blow that diverted his sternum into his spinal column. When she turned, and saw 2 more Reapers, she blinked. Without any difficulties, she released the genjutsu. "Where is she?" The lead kunoichi demanded. "I saw 5 of her leaving," Naruto answered. "They got outside my range before I could activate my Sugun Byakugan." Hinata apologized. "I'm sorry, but I don't know which one was the real one. We should split up and go after her." Naruto insisted. "If we each take a different path, we have like a 50-50 chance of finding the real one." "No way," Sakura shook her head. "We are not splitting up, period. Besides, we have what we came for." Hinata now extended her left hand, offering him the leaf headband the Reaper had dropped. "Thanks, Hinata." He took the artifact back reverently. What am I chopped liver his teammate complained. Of course not, he grinned at her, thank you both. When he turned the headband over to tie it on, he saw that a large section of the cloth behind the metal plate had been cut away. Now I'll have to have this remounted, he noted, annoyed. When he looked closer, he realized his name had been carved into the back. So she wouldn't forget it, he whispered, then more loudly, hey, Hinata, how did you know she was going to attack me at the end? During her sob story, Hinata recalled, she didn't show any signs of recalling tragic memories. Her breathing and heart rate didn't change. Her outrage was a contrivance. And she started to build up what was left of her chakra. I'm sure we'll have to go over this with Lady Tsunade, Sakura interrupted, so can we just go home now? The training partners blanched at the reminder of what awaited them. As expected, when the trio reached the wall surrounding the Konohagakure, there was someone waiting for them. Anko and Iruka quickly and wordlessly escorted them to the Hokage's office. After they were seated, Tsunade began to pace angrily in front of them. I take it from your late return and that, she stopped, and none to gently flick the shield on Naruto's forehead, that you took a little detour on your way back. They did not speak, but all nodded their heads to indicate she was correct. Tell me, she ordered. Naruto and Sakura both started to speak rapidly. As their words ran together, the female Sanin's anger grew, and they managed to take turns. Tsunade listened as they relayed the events of the last 3 days. She had already learned the first part from Shizune's missive, but still wanted to hear their version. When they finished, she continued to glare at them. All right, she finally sighed. Her pride had overcome her anger, but she kept her face and tone even. I suppose you technically have not done anything wrong. And you have probably solved a number of mysterious deaths and failed missions over the last 10 years. But you all took an incredible risk, and you should know better. Especially you two. She pointed at the 2 kunoichi, both of whom looked chastised. I have the perfect punishment for you two, she grinned, I've been needing to free up some jonin for missions. So for the next week or two, you two will be escorting genin teams on D-rank missions. Weeding, dog walking, babysitting, I'm sure you both remember those sorts of jobs. Sakura groaned, and Hinata nodded sadly. As for you, the Hokage returned her focus to Naruto, I'm torn. This was your fault. I'm tempted to forbid you from taking the Chunin exam in September. Naruto almost leapt from his chair. He had almost forgotten he only had less than 2 weeks to prepare, but now it might be taken away. But you actually listened to Shizune's advice, and were able to overcome an enemy who had previously defeated you. Her smirk was particularly nasty. I told Anko and Iruka about your new toy, and they seemed quite interested. So instead of keeping you out of the exam, I'm turning you over to Anko. Naruto groaned at the thought. After they were dismissed, he found Iruka and Anko were waiting for him. The hard kunoichi had a disturbingly happy look on her face. As Naruto dragged himself away from the drubbing, Anko finally allowed herself to wince. The little punk is getting really good, she admitted to Iruka. He nodded, jumping down from the tree branch where he had been watching. And he's crafted quite the weapon, she recalled its heft and balance. Mitarashi took a step, but paused with a pain from the shot she'd taken to the knee. Yumino hurried over to her, putting his arm around her to support her. Her face hardened, but when she realized no one was watching, accepted his help. I think Hisashi-sensei would be happy with the one who has offered to inherit his weapon style, Iruka suggested. Yeah, he would at that, Anko agreed. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.